Wolong Fallen Dynasty. This game has a parry, so it makes it into parry review. Man, this game has more than one parry, so I got a lot to talk about. Okay, so here you're seeing me just in combat. When you see that little orange glow, that's you doing your heavy attacks. It has another name in this game, but it's basically those are your heavy attacks. When you see me just like swinging faster, those are the light attacks. So here when the enemies glow red, all you gotta do is like a regular parry, and then you can critical attack them. So really the enemies are screwing themselves when they do one of those red attacks. They're just begging for you to kill them. The rest of the time, though, if you just parry their regular attacks, it doesn't break their posture. But 9 times out of 10, if an enemy does like one of those red attacks and you parry, you're gonna break their posture. Now, don't think that parrying is easy in this game just because it's a mechanic that you're gonna be using a lot. This game is like Sekiro in that sense, or Lies of P in the sense that you're gonna be parrying a lot. You better be parrying if you're playing Wolong. But it's not easy. It's not some piece of cake. Some enemies, when you invest time and attempt to learn their patterns, you will die with a few enemies in this game. So now you're seeing me fight a mini boss of sorts. And you're gonna see that I have like a free camera roaming. Normally, when you see that little white circle in the middle, that means you've locked on to the enemy. And normally when you've locked on to the enemy and you can see the little white circle, the camera auto-focuses on the enemy. Here I'm moving the camera manually, and I had to go out of my way and adjust the settings in the options menu, in the game options, because when you're fighting multiple enemies and you lock on, you will always lock on. This game, like, the default settings are to like automatically lock on anybody you attack. So when you're locked onto an enemy and you're fighting a mob, you're fighting multiple enemies, the camera is gonna screw you over, and you won't be able to move the camera if you have the focus setting on. So I have removed the focus setting and I have free camera. Even though I'm locked on, I can move the camera freely, and I have that on there because it is difficult. It is best to just be able to move the camera freely. And that way you can observe the other. While you attack one enemy, you can observe the rest, and you can be ready for when you're gonna have to parry. Again, I'm fighting like mini bosses here, so you won't be able to properly see what I'm trying to explain to you until the next segment. But this camera thing issue that I'm mentioning right now is the final boss of this game. It's your worst enemy. And even though I took some measures and I've sort of fixed it, the camera is still an issue in this game. For a moment I gave up and I went back to using the focus camera, but this game throws more mobs at you than you would expect. So it really is best to remove the focus in the options menu. But then the problem is when I'm fighting a boss, like here for example, it makes me wish in the back of my head, oh, I wish I could turn on the focus again in the options menu. But this game, if you pause it, you can't navigate your menu. Okay, so this game you can't pause it. If you go into the options, the game is still running. So if you try to like adjust the options during a fight, the enemies are gonna murder you really quickly. So you can't adjust your target lock-on settings mid-fight. So whatever camera settings you're using, you have to commit to that for the rest of your run. Or if the final boss of the stage, each stage has a final boss. If you know the boss is soon approaching, then you go to the options menu and you readjust the camera settings, which is a chore. And this is my biggest gripe with this game, this little camera thing. Uh, in Lies of P you can lock on, but you can like freely attack an enemy, and the game kind of knows which enemy you want to attack. Here, if you're locked onto an enemy, and you stand next to another enemy, you will not attack the enemy that is closest to you. You will attack the enemy you're locked onto. So if you're next to an enemy and you're locked onto an enemy that's on the other side of the room, your dumbass character is gonna turn around 180 and slash the air because he's still locked onto the enemy all the way across the room. And this is gonna fuck you. So, when you use the free manual aim camera, you can't just switch enemies using the lock on. You have to unlock, right? You have to lock off of an enemy and then hit the lock on button again. And that's how you switch to the closest enemy near you. Or you lock off the enemy and just attack the closest enemy near you. Because when you're locked off, then you can like manually swing your sword wherever you want. But again, it's just like this is a huge issue with this game. So now I'm gonna show you the best parry in this game. This is the weapon switch parry. And it's a parry that's harder to do, but it allows you to immediately riposte. It allows for immediate reprisal as soon as you parry an attack. Let me show you. Now I'm killing this guy, but here I'm gonna do it. And there we go. See, when I immediately attack him, that happens because you switch weapon. And that happens by pressing some other button and the parry button. You hold the other button, and then you press the parry button. This one has a shorter window to pull off. And it's like twice as hard to pull off as the regular parry. So it's only worth doing on like easy enemies. Because again, I'm telling you, you have to memorize. And there's in every level there's like new enemies, and so you have to redo the homework of like learning every new enemy attack pattern. And it's so easy. It's easy to die in this game, so I'm telling you, you're not gonna risk it. So the weapon switch parry is a parry that you're only gonna do on enemies that you know for sure their entire attack pattern. I am working on mastering it, on being able to do it on every single enemy. That's what I would like to do. But hopefully, this is one of my longer reviews. Please bear with me. But here, you're gonna see me fight multiple. This is a mob, and see, I'm locked on to whichever enemy I'm attacking, right? And look, see, I look behind me, and there I knew I didn't have to parry because I was far enough away. But normally, on the default settings on this game, you don't have the ability to look behind you. Once you're locked onto an enemy, you're focused on that enemy and you can't turn the camera in any direction. If you try to turn the camera, you'll just lock onto another enemy, but it won't turn the camera per se. It'll move the camera to the other enemy. But you won't be able to look at your surroundings in a 360 type of motion, which is what you need to be able to do if you always want to be on the lookout for the parries or the dodges. So for Wolong Fallen Dynasty, I had not yet a rating on my mind. I've been making up my mind as I make this review. I think I'm gonna give it a 7 out of 10 on the parry metric, and on the enjoyment scale, like a 7, maybe 7.5. The thing is, because this is parry reviews, the enjoyment scale also does hinge a lot of the times, not always, but the enjoyment scale is dependent on the parry metric. And this is one of the rare cases where the parry metric is tied to the camera metric. This has never happened to me before. I've never had... I'm gonna have to go on the internet and see if anyone can like educate me on what is like the best camera setting. I think the one I'm using is the best camera setting, but you know, again, I'm caught by surprise with this game. Like, I wasn't expecting to have like camera issues, and it's not a huge issue. Again, I want to be able to look at my surroundings while I'm fighting so that I can better protect myself and judge the situation. This is just so strange. I'm just gonna give this game a 7 out of 10 on the parry metric and a 7 out of 10. 7 out of 10 on the enjoyment scale as well, because I'm liking this game a lot. Like, I really, really like it. It's just that the camera isn't doing what I want it to do. And I never thought I was this much of a camera snob, but that's what I've discovered with Wolong Fallen Dynasty, that I'm a huge camera snob, camera settings neat freak, and I don't. This game made me go through a lot of trouble with the camera. So 7 out of 10. I'm sure this game deserves a higher score. I'm sure a few of you will that like this game will be like, oh, you know, it should be higher score, and I agree. But man, the camera was a surprise that I was not expecting. So again, thanks for watching, guys. Take care and enjoy.